Welcome to this explainer. Okay, we're going to jump right in today because we are tackling something that literally almost every family is trying to navigate right now. I want you to picture this scene. An ordinary teenager comes home from a completely ordinary day at school. They drop their bag, sit down, open up their phone, and instantly there's this invisible emotional shift. Within just a few minutes of scrolling, they've seen someone with clearer skin, way better clothes, a massive group of friends, perfect grades, or a bedroom that looks like it belongs in a magazine. Nothing directly insulting actually happened. No one yelled at them. Nobody said a mean word. And yet, they closed that app just feeling smaller.
It really brings us to this profound question. Why does a perfectly ordinary, totally fine day suddenly feel like a massive failure? Parents are constantly asking, why do you keep comparing yourself to people online? Well, the core conflict here is that passively scrolling past these carefully curated, highly optimized images creates this really deep feeling of inadequacy without a single insult ever being thrown. The child's real, ordinary, complete life is just being repeatedly measured against someone else's highly selected, incomplete highlight reel.
But before we go blaming the apps for everything, we really need to look at what's actually happening in the brain. Social comparison? It isn't some strange, brand new digital disease. It's a completely natural human habit. We are literally hardwired to use other people as reference points to figure out our own appearance, our abilities, our success, and where we belong in the pack. The absolutely crucial thing to understand here is that the comparison mechanism itself isn't broken. It's simply that our digital environment completely warps the scale of it. It takes this totally natural tool for self-understanding and drops it into a highly unnatural environment.
And actually, not all comparison is harmful. There are three distinct types we need to talk about. First, we have upward comparison, looking at someone doing better than you. This can actually be super inspiring if the goal feels attainable. But if the gap feels impossible, it just causes shame. Then there's downward comparison, looking at someone doing worse. That might give you a quick hit of relief, but it can definitely breed distorted confidence. And finally, lateral comparison, looking at someone similar to you. This one is actually highly valuable because it helps kids understand what's typical and really builds that sense of belonging. So the danger isn't that they're comparing themselves. The real danger is when an upward comparison morphs into this huge global self-judgment like, they are so much better, which means I am completely worthless.
Section 1. The highlight reel versus missing context. So if comparing ourselves is a natural thing, why is social media so incredibly potent? Well, it boils down to what we do not see. When a kid looks at a perfect post, they're only getting the shiny end result. The context is completely missing. They don't see the 50 unsuccessful photos it took to get that one shot. They don't see the massive argument that happened in the car right before that smiling family picture. They don't see the credit card debt behind that luxury purchase or the literal hours of editing and prep. True digital literacy means teaching teens to recognize that a 100% true image can still create a 100% false overall impression when all that messy, real-life context is stripped away.
And then, of course, you add the technology itself into the mix. The algorithms are literally designed to show you more of whatever holds your attention. This means that just passively browsing can quietly trap a teen. These recommendation engines are constantly feeding them increasingly idealized targets. Think about it. If a teenager pauses for, I don't know, maybe 2 extra seconds on a fitness video, the system goes, aha, and serves up increasingly idealized and sometimes completely physically impossible bodies. If they watch luxury lifestyle content, they get flooded with mansions and private jets that suddenly make an ordinary, comfortable family life look wildly inadequate.
And we really have to remember that this whole thing goes way beyond just body image. Parents so often assume comparison is only about appearance. But look at these other domains. Kids are looking at friendship groups and popularity. They see these huge group photos and think literally everyone else has way more friends. They compare academic achievements, seeing the straight A announcement, but never the 2 a.m. panic studying. They're comparing family wealth, vacations, follower counts, and even just the apparent surface-level happiness of other families.
But listen, the stakes when it comes to appearance are undeniably high. Just to put this into perspective, a massive 2025 systematic review looked at 83 separate studies involving over 55,000 participants, and it directly linked online social comparison to greater body image concerns and eating disorder symptoms. Now, does this mean social media automatically causes a disorder in every single kid who uses it? No, absolutely not. But the science is crystal clear. Repeated online comparison is a major risk process, especially for kids who might already be a little vulnerable.
Which really brings us to a critical shift that happens in a child's internal monologue. When we talk about healthy self-evaluation, we want teens asking things like, what actually matters to me? What am I learning? What am I getting better at? Those are solid internal reference points.
But when the feed completely takes over, it turns into a comparison-driven self-evaluation. It becomes, am I ahead or behind? Do I look as good as them? Do I have as much stuff as they do? When those are the questions running on loop in their head, their entire identity gets tied to a finish line that literally never stops moving. Because the truth is, online, there will always be someone with more followers or a more polished aesthetic.
Okay, section 2, the 7-part comparison reset. So how do we actually fix this? Because honestly, an impossible task like permanently confiscating their phone or trying to ban all comparison just isn't going to work. The real goal is teaching vital interpretation skills. We want to move a teenager from just passively viewing content to purposeful, resilient use. We do this with a 7-part reset. First, identify the exact trigger. Is it an account about popularity or maybe appearance? Then separate the person from the evidence. Remember, that post is just a tiny, narrow sample of their life. Next, classify the effect. Is this inspiring you to act or just causing shame? Then actually curate the feed by muting those harmful accounts. Shift to purposeful use, meaning you open the app to actually talk to someone, not just doom scroll. Build offline evidence, and finally, review the emotional result when you're done.
To put this into immediate practice, parents, you can teach your teens this highly practical 3-question reality check, and they can use this the exact second an online comparison starts making them feel bad. Step 1, ask, what am I comparing? Get specific, name the domain. Is it wealth? Is it a talent? Step 2, ask, is the evidence complete? Remind yourself that a social media post basically never shows the full context. And step 3, what useful action follows? If the answer is, hey, I'm going to take a realistic step to get better at that skill, awesome. But if the answer is, I'm going to hate myself or I'm going to obsessively keep checking their profile, yeah, that comparison is definitely not serving them.
Now, a quick heads up for parents. When your kid is hurting because of something they saw online, our immediate instinct is usually to just attack the person they're looking at, right? We say things like, oh, she's totally fake, or, ugh, that family is just showing off. Actually, scratch that. We really need to avoid doing this. Replacing one distorted, negative judgment with another doesn't help them build digital literacy at all. Instead, stick to neutral analysis. Say things like, we really don't have the full context behind this image. This simple shift prevents the incomplete evidence on their screen from turning into a massive global judgment on your child's actual worth.
Step 6 of our reset might honestly be the most crucial piece of the entire puzzle: building offline identity evidence. Kids desperately need experiences that cannot be boiled down to a public metric or a like count. We're talking about learning a new physical skill, sweating it out on a sports team, actually contributing to the family chores, building something offline, or just being a good friend in real life. And here is the beautiful part of this. Their offline life doesn't actually need to be more glamorous or exciting than social media. It just needs to be real enough to anchor them, giving them solid, undeniable evidence about who they truly are.
I absolutely love this quote from the source material. It is such a powerful, empathetic way to phrase this to a teenager. Your identity needs more than one mirror. Think about it. When a kid's only mirror is a social media algorithm that's been fine-tuned for absolute perfection, their self-image is basically guaranteed to get distorted. Diverse offline experiences, messy real-world friendships, and physical activities, they provide this essential, much richer feedback loop than online metrics ever could.
So what does this all mean? The goal isn't to create a kid who never ever notices another person's strengths. It's to raise a kid who can notice those awesome things without instantly turning someone else's highlight reel into a guilty verdict on their own personal worth. Empower yourself and empower your kids to really master interpretation rather than trying the completely impossible task of elimination. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope you can take these tools and start asking better questions today. Ultimately, it leaves us with this one final really important thought. If social media is just a highlight reel, what does your complete story actually look like?